Hey everybody, it's Amber with Rustic Roots Heritage Homestead again. I have had some people reach out and ask me to do some high level, go over the basics with freeze drying. So I'm going to try to do some videos about freeze drying. I'm not an expert at anything, but I am happy to share what I have learned the hard way to maybe save you some time. So hang out. Like, follow, subscribe, and let's get to work. Okay, so today I'm going to be using my small freeze dryer, and we're going to freeze dry some beef liver because it's a really nutritious treat for dogs. My dogs absolutely love it, and I get a lot of requests for it from customers, so that's what we're going to do today. I typically use this smaller machine for pet treats. I'll do chicken hearts and livers, organs and things like that in here. And it just sort of grosses me out to think to do my food or candy in the same machine. So I use the small one. First, we're going to start with our settings. So I want to make sure I'm in B mode. And I am. Let me see if I can, how to make it clearer. So I'm in B. It's where I want to be. Everything is showing off because nothing's running, so that's good. We'll hit done, go back to the home screen. Also, I should note, this is not up to date. The software on this machine has not been updated yet, but I will show you in another video the updated software and this really cool Wi-Fi tool. It makes life so much easier. Okay, so then we'll hit customize, so we get the settings that we want. For food, for like food that we want to do for long-term storage or, pet treats and not candy, basically. I always do 1 hour extra freeze time, 125 for the temp. Then I always put in 24 hours of extra dry time. I don't always let it run for an extra 24 hours. But if I put that in there and then I get busy doing something, the machine's not going to turn off. It's going to keep on running. And then it also gives us an opportunity to come in, pause it, and see if the food's really done or not. And we'll go over that later. We'll hit save. Okay. I've already wiped everything down. The seal is clean. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they don't get a good seal. So after you take your seal off, clean it, wipe everything out, just press along that seal and make sure it's secured to the machine. We'll come around to the side, make sure our valve is open. And it is. When it's running horizontal with the hose, it's open. For the first 15 minutes, it has to be open to cool the machine down. Here's our pump. This is an older pump, so you probably will not get one like this unless you have an older machine already. But we got oil in it. We filter the oil in between each run, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so we've checked our seal. Our settings are what we want. The valve is open. We're gonna hit start. And you can hear the pump kick on. Says it's cooling the vacuum chamber. Wait 15 minutes. So we're going to wait 15 minutes. And then we're going to come back and we're going to close the drain valve. After 15 minutes, it wants you to close this, and it'll give you that prompt on the screen as well. So while that does what it does, we will go ahead and prep our trays. I'm sorry, I think I said pump a second ago. It's not the pump. It's the compressor, condenser, whatever. All right, welcome back to my crappy little kitchen. Don't judge it. I don't like it either, but it's the best I have. So here's our small harvest rate tray. As you can see, it is very small. I don't recommend getting the small freeze dryer. I outgrew it in about a week. So here's our beef liver. All we're gonna do is just put it on the trays. That's literally it. When you get your machine, it'll tell you how many pounds can go on each tray. I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to that. I pay most attention to the height. You don't want to have anything go above the height of the tray. So that's what you need to look for. Just make sure that whatever it is you're freeze drying stays below that lip and you'll be fine. You can get these little shelf dividers off Amazon. Pretty cool. So I've got everything in the freezer waiting on our 15 minutes. All right, we are at our 15 minutes. And now the screen says to load the trays into the freeze dryer and close the drain valve, all caps. If you are ADD like me, make sure you set an alarm on your phone to, 14 minutes so that you are here and ready to close the drain valve. If you don't close it and you just let this thing run for forever because you got busy doing something else, you could really tear it up. So all we're gonna do is close this valve. That just stops air from coming up into the chamber. Valve is closed. Now it says we can load our trays. I'm not gonna load my trays yet because I pre-freeze. And by pre-freezing, I have cut the time in half on most things of the machine time. Pre-freezing is definitely a time saver, it's a lifesaver, and it lets you be able to keep things rolling more quickly. You can always have something in the freezer pre-freezing, but because it's frozen, it's below 32 degrees, we don't want to put it in the machine when the machine is 62 degrees. Makes sense, right? We want to wait until the machine is below 32 degrees. So set another alarm for another 20 minutes and come back and check. Okay, it's about a half hour later and we are at 32 degrees. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab our pre-frozen trays and get them loaded up. All right, everything is loaded, all 3 trays. And that's it. That's all you gotta do. Use pot holders if you can. Those things get so cold. Just shut your door. Now the handle does lock twice, so right there, it's locked once. But we wanna go one more time so that it pulls that seal in. So this is what it sounds like when the pump is running. For this older model pump, it's completely normal. Sometimes you'll get a puff of smoke from here, but as long as it's not a constant stream of like a lot of smoke, it's okay. You'll also sometimes get condensation build up on here on the door. It's no big deal. You can wipe it off if you want to, but you really don't even have to wipe it. I always just leave a towel under it so it has something to drip onto. And I should mention, when this changes over to, load your trays, you need to hit the continue button. It's hard to see, but you can see that the color has sort of changed as the moisture gets pulled out. Ice is starting to form on the inside. That's good. That's what it's supposed to do. The machine's been running for 15 hours, 26 minutes. It's 127, 126 degrees in there. That's good since we set our target temp at 125. It's been actually in the drying mode for 13 hours, 39 minutes. And the bar is almost to the end, so it should be done with drying per the sensors shortly. And then I'll show you how to double check and make sure that it's really dry. Okay, so this screen confuses people. All it says now is drying and then a time. This means it's done. The process is done. The sensors think that whatever's in there is completely dry and ready for packaging. That's all this is. Remember, I put 24 hours extra dry time in there because I am not going to wake up in the middle of the night to pack the freeze dryer. It's not happening. So always give yourself that leeway and that extra time. So I slept through the night, I've been up, I've done morning chores. Now I'm going to come and deal with the freeze dryer when it's convenient for me. It has been running for a long time in extra dry time. So there's only 11 hours, 18 minutes left. So like 13 hours it's been an extra dry time. I'm good with it. It doesn't cost that much to run. Just let it do what it does. But I do not trust the sensors. So I double check everything before I pack it. And I'm going to show you how I do that now. Okay, so to double check that everything is really dry before we package it, I use the weight method. So how we do that is we just hit cancel on our screen. It turns it off. But then you'll see that it gives you options for more dry time. And we're going to use that. And then it also gives you options for defrost and no defrost. And we'll go over that when we're there. So we're going to open. To open the door, the first thing we have to do is release the pressure. Because remember, we closed the valve and we created a vacuum in here. We made it airtight. So now we have to let that pressure out before we can open the door, and you will not get that door open until you open this air valve. I let the air out very, very slowly because sometimes you'll be running candy that puffs up, and if you just flip that bad boy open, your candy's gonna unpuff, and that's not what we want. Sometimes there'll be moisture in the tube, and we don't want to reintroduce moisture, obviously. So we just let the air out. I'm really excited to see these. I'm sure they're done with as much extra dry time as it's had, but we're still gonna check. You don't ever want to just take the machine's word for it. There's nothing worse than spending all this time and money and energy creating something and then it not be completely perfect and then it's ruined. So we always double check. So they look the same, they're looking good. It looks real good. Slight color change, but no big deal. So double check. I use the weight method. We're going to turn our scale on and make sure it's tared. And it is. If you don't know what tared means, it just means that when you turn it on, it shows 0. If yours doesn't, you can just hit the tare button, and then it will. Or it should. Now we're just going to set our tray on. I measure in grams because that's just what makes sense to me. You can measure in whatever unit you want. So I know now that this was my top shelf. And it's 692 grams if I quit touching it. Okay, 692 grams. But I rotate my shelves, my trays, when I measure because different trays do act differently. So I'm going to put this tray in the middle. So I'm going to come here, and this is the time. It's 10:30 in the morning. And on the middle tray, I'm going to put 692. We're going to put it back. Okay, so I put that tray in the middle, and this is now the middle tray. And I'm going to put it on the bottom. And it's 728. So now I'm just going to write 728. I just can't show you the switching of the trays because I'm doing this one-handed, so to hold a phone. But we're just rotating trays. That's all we're doing. And now here is the bottom tray. It's 673 grams. And it's going to become the top tray. So we're just going to write 673. And we're going to put it back. That's it. See all this ice buildup? It just amazes me. It's just such amazing technology, y'all. It is so cool, and to be able to do it at home, it's just amazing. Okay, so I've put them back in the machine, and I'm gonna turn the machine back on. So when it's on this screen, it's not going to give you the option for more dry time, or I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's not going to give you the option, or you don't have to take the step of cooling the chamber for those first 15 minutes. So Just close your drain valve. Close it back up. And then we're gonna hit more dry time. It says close it. We did. Hit continue. And now you can hear the pump kick right back on. It automatically goes to 2 hours. And while I am gonna check it in 2 hours, I want to give myself some leeway in case I'm in the middle of something. So I'm just gonna add some extra time on there. Now we are gonna come back in 2 hours. So at 12:30 we're gonna come back and we're gonna re-weigh every tray. And if they've lost weight, then it's still pulling moisture out and it's not ready to package. It's not shelf stable yet. If they're all the same weight, then all the moisture that can be pulled out has been, and we're ready to package. All right, my alarm just went off. It's 12:30. Let's check it out and see what our weights are. Okay. So remember, we're gonna hit cancel, and then we're gonna let the air out. Otherwise, you will not be able to get the door open. The door, it's not gonna budge unless you let that air out. So it's self-correcting. All this water and condensation, that's completely normal. It's acceptable, it's normal, it's okay. Let's see where the middle one's at. Our scale is tared, and we're at 692. So again, we're gonna write it on, and that's the same weight. So we're looking good so far. Just do the other two. Bottom tray is 728. So we're doing good. And our top tray is 673. That's a win, y'all. We are ready to pack. It is officially dry. Just make sure that you always weigh every single tray on any food that you do. Candy, it's not such a big deal, but food, especially food that you're gonna store long term, make sure you're weighing your trays. Okay, so here's our freeze-dried liver. I told you I was doing this for dog treats, and I am. I could have spent a whole lot of time fighting with it while it was raw or frozen, trying to cut it up in bite-sized pieces. But freeze dryers make food shelf stable by pulling the moisture out, which means it's super easy to just break. And now I have my bite-sized pieces for these puppers in no time. Just gotta break it up. That's it. It's pretty easy, right? It's not hard. The biggest thing is the investment in the machine. The machines are expensive, but it's been my experience that if you offer to freeze dry for friends or family, or sell a little bit of dog treats or candy or whatever, it'll make the machine payment for you. But don't say, well, Amber said if I spent $6,000 on this machine, the candy sales would make a payment. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you need to make sure that you can make the payment on your own, but it has been my experience that just in freeze drying people's harvests for them and charging a flat fee, or making dog treats or some candies, really helps make the payment for me, and then I'm able to preserve my own gardens. Now we'll go ahead and get it packed. As you can see, the scale is not zeroed, it's in the negatives, and that's because I have tared it with the weight of the bag and the oxygen absorber so that I don't rip anybody off, and I'm not charging them for the bag and the oxygen absorber. I want to make sure that I'm only charging people for what they're paying for, which is the liver. So let's get a bag packed. So I've done enough of these. I have like a pretty good guesstimate of where I need to be, but every single bag gets weighed because these are for people. And I don't want to short anybody. I don't want to, rip anybody off. I've already got my oxygen absorber in here. So let's see where we're at. 2 ounces. Looks like a winner. And that's it. Minus labeling, this is our freeze-dried dog treats. Beef liver. Real beef liver. No antibiotics, no hormones, no preservatives. Just good old liver. But we're not done. There's a little more we have to do. So we're back on the same screen we were when we added more dry time last time. This time, it's done. We don't need more dry time. Everything's packaged, ready to go. So I've shut the door all the way, and now we're gonna tell it to defrost. We gotta get all this ice buildup out of there before we can start our next run. I have mine set for 3 hours, and I'm gonna leave it there. You can change it, you can make it more or less, but I think that's sufficient time to get all this ice gone. So then we're gonna hit continue. And it's just gonna defrost the chamber. It's gonna heat up. There's heating pads. These orange things are heat pads, and they're gonna heat up, and that chamber is gonna get really warm so that all that ice that's built up in there will melt. What we have to do to ensure the ice can come out is open the drain valve all the way, and then we're gonna take our drain tube and I stick it in a bucket. That way I don't have to worry about it overflowing or anything like that. The last thing we have to do is drain and filter the oil in our pump. This is the filter I use. It's like a Brita water filter pitcher thing. But it's actually made for this. It comes from Harvest Right. I keep filtered oil ready to go all the time so that I'm never waiting on oil to filter. It does take a couple hours, which is fine really, because the chamber is going to take a couple hours to defrost too. So to filter it is not hard. To filter it, all we're going to do is open this valve right here. We're just going to open, let me get my finger unstuck. We're just going to open this one so that the oil can filter into the top of the pitcher. Give me just a second. Let me get that valve open and I'll show you what we're going to do. It's just finger tight. All you have to do is just turn it. And then you can see the oils draining in the little viewer. See how cloudy it is and dirty versus filtered. It's a pretty big difference. I don't know if you can really tell on here, but the difference is pretty huge. So you always want to make sure that you filter after every single run of food. You don't have to on candy, but on food, always filter after every single run. The pumps have a handle on them, and that's because once this oil starts draining out or starts trickling, we're gonna tilt this to make sure we get all the oil out and into the filter. Okay, I got it tilted, got all the oil out. You can see there's no more in there. I've shut the valve. You can see this is pretty nasty compared to the filter. The filter is just really amazing. It amazes me how it can do that. So we're pretty fancy around here. And what I'm gonna do to get the clean oil back into the pump so that the dirty oil can filter properly is I'm gonna take my handy dandy ball jar. I'm gonna take the top of this pitcher out. You can see it dripping. So slow, but so impressive. And I'm just gonna put this in this ball jar. And then I'm going to take my handy dandy pitcher and dump it into the pump. On the pump, sort of like a car, is a little cap, and it's labeled oil. You can see it on this style pump. And what we're going to do, it gets so tight on there sometimes. I can't do this one-handed. Hold on. Okay, finally got it. So we're just going to unscrew that. Make sure that little seal is still on there. Sometimes it'll stay stuck here. It's not a big deal. Just stick it back on there. Set my cap out of the way. Take my super fancy funnel. put it there. Then we're gonna dump the oil. Now we're just gonna pour it back in. It should take all of it. You want to pour your oil in until it's halfway up the viewing glass. So let's see where we're at. It does take a second for the oil level to start rising. So give it time. This pump, even though it's an older model pump, I really like it because it has the halfway point marked. The newer pump doesn't, and I'll show you all that later. Okay, so it could use a little more oil, but we're gonna wait until what we have is filtered, and then we'll finish topping it off with that. Okay, so now we're gonna put our filter back in the pitcher, just like that. Then I take what's in the ball jar and I just dump it on in. Ain't gonna hurt it to be filtered twice. Got the lid back on the pitcher. Gonna let it sit and do its job. And that's really it. You have now freeze dried a run of beef liver. It's not hard. A lot of people will complain that freeze dried stuff is expensive. And it does cost more than non, but there's a lot of labor involved. The machine is expensive. The oil that you use is expensive. So that's some of the reasons why. There is a lot of steps. It's not hard, but it is time consuming. So I'm gonna wait on that oil to filter. I'm gonna fill it to the halfway point. Once the machine's done defrosting, I'm gonna pull the trays out. I'm gonna pull everything out, clean it, disinfect it, make sure it's ready for the next run.